snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
We can all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, that's a real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no, the forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
Welcome to HeartMind Expressions and the Fab Four. This is Amária Sweet, and I've got Sue McClure and AlexSpielman with us. Hey guys. Really quick, of course, thank you so much to Katie Kamara and Kamara Holistic Connections, C4OC Radio Network, and Rev Radio Las Vegas. So, we've had some interesting discussions. I think I want to kind of go into, I like where Alex is going with neurodivergence. And then maybe we can tie that into, I know, Sue, you've been kind of wanting to talk about kind of the spiritual community a little bit. Ouija boards have been coming up. I think those are some good topics. So neurodivergence, Alex.
Hi.
Hey, there you are.
Hi, big fan, first time caller.
Yeah, which reminds us, you guys can actually call in, you know.
Hint, 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 feel free. Neurodivergence. Now that's the word that I've been that has been the wonderful world of search engines for me for the last month or so. And yes, it is true. I do have a search tab. I normally have at least 15 open at one time. It's not because I need 15 tabs open at one time. It's just because I get distracted and I don't have a chance to close it. And so then I'll have just 15 tabs. I'll be like, oh, what's this? And then it's just something I did like 10 minutes ago.
And it's not just 50 tabs, but you've got 50 tabs on 3 different servers, right? Or what do you call them? Browsers.
Can you imagine how dangerous it would be if he had, like, you know, one of those people that have 3 or 4 monitors sitting across themselves?
That's where it gets fun.
Oh, goodness gracious! So please do not feed to the obsession that I have.
It's kind of like window shopping.
Well, you know, kind of. But yeah, what was that about? Oh yeah, neurodivergence. Fun term. Neurodivergence is actually a condition. Is in the family of a condition I have, and a lot of people actually have neurodivergent conditions. Probably the 2 best known conditions are different forms of autism and ADHD. Something I know that a lot of us have dealt with for our entire lives in some shape or form. And it's not exactly the same beast for each person. It rears its ugly head in however it wants to. And it's just like, hey, how you doing, buddy? And it's like that weird person that you made at like a bar, and it's just like giving you that weird back rub. You're like, who are you?
I noticed for me, it's in different, because I also have dissociative personalities. And so depending on which personality is coming out more, depends on where the divergence is. Like in one of them, it's speech stuff. Like I start trying to think and I can see pictures, but the words are just like totally disconnected. And it's weird. I speak several languages, So it's like, wait a minute, what the crap? And then in others, it's just kind of spacing out and forgetting shit, and then going, it's like squirrel. And then I'm the Jabberwocky with my mouth. It's like, you know, just talky. Anyway.
But yeah.
You were
Well, my particular one is kind of like this ring of fire, I think they call it, because either I'm really up or I'm really down. And I'm not talking emotionally up and down. I'm talking motivationally.
Yes. A lot of us know that all too well.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting thing, because a lot of what's called neurotypical, which are people who are classified as normal brain activity, usually brand those who are considered neurodivergent as lazy or unmotivated, have poor work ethic, and they're just going to not be able to work in this world because they have no productive. And I say to them, you're right, because
Yeah.
the way we work does not fit that particular worldview. Now,
Yeah, I know exactly the feeling of that.
if you wanted to see a world that is run by a neurodivergent brain, 99% of things that we're doing right now would not be the way they currently are. About 99%. How we do
sometimes
work.
I don't think that it's like I'm lazy, but sometimes it's just overwhelming seeing what's before you, going, oh fuck, do I gotta do that? Oh, I don't know, I'm checking out. Right,
Yeah, you know what? Nap sounds much better, right? Have you ever looked at things and said, you know what? Nap sounds good right now.
I think same as with any kind of tourist placements, it's kind of like, yeah.
But who thought it was a good idea to work continuously for multiple hours of the day? I never understood that concept.
That's maddening. I can't even function like that.
Like, if you gave me like, I know, like, if let's say we're doing an 8-hour day, right? The way my mind would work is if it was 8 hours, but it was spaced between 24 hours, right? Like, it's 2 hours here, 2 hours there, 2 hours there, maybe 3 hours there, an hour here, maybe 30 seconds another time. But it wouldn't be a huge continuous block, because my focus does not work like that, because I don't like to focus if I'm not interested in something.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I mean, I guess certain things I have to motivate on, like work, because, you know, having a job. I actually like to do it all in one clump, as tight knit as I can and as quick as I can, as like fast with the highest value. Of course. Well, but yeah, I guess I'm just like, I'm not workaholic that's like, once I'm doing it, I'm like, boss babe, badass, we're doing this. It's just sometimes getting there, it's like, okay, squirrel, there's another squirrel, albino squirrel, you know. I mean,
ooh, albino squirrel. Let's look at the albino.
That would be the biggest distraction. Yeah.
So wait, is the albino squirrel only albino in the top of the top tufts of the hair? Is it through the tail? Is it only on the underbelly of the squirrel? I wonder.
No, if it's only white on top, then it would be considered a skunk, right?
A
tree skunk? No? Oh, okay. I'm just asking.
No, it would be considered a squirrel with a mohawk.
Yeah.
Squirrel with a mohawk.
And that's when get out your smartphone moments.
This is a good example of neurodivergence.
It's like ping pong, but in your head.
Oh my goodness!
It's really fun.
Well, you know.
Another funny thing about neurodivergence is our humor. Our humor is highly developed, and that's why everybody thinks that we're so eccentric. It's because our humor is not your regular table quality humor. Our humor is like, it's already in the back. It's like a computer, and it has, or your smartphone, and it's in the back. You know, it's just a program that's playing in the background. And so just when you're ready to say it, it's like, I've been there for like 16 hours, ready to go. I just been waiting for the exact moment for this to work. It's just there.
It's all planned out.
It's been planned out for a while. I've just been waiting for a particular parameters to be satisfied, and then I'll make a joke, and then I'll be on the floor laughing hysterically on the ground, wondering why I can't breathe for 2 seconds.
Yeah,
and then I'm like,
I go in that, like those interesting belly laughing rolls, and my sweetheart will look at me like, then he'll just go, then we'll just both do it. We both are.
That's another thing. The giggle. A lot of us just have giggles, right? We just giggle because it lets out the stress. It lets out frustration. It's like a train. And you know how, and I'm not talking your regular like transit trains. I'm talking like the old steam trains.
Oh yeah.
Right? And they have the steam, then they have to blow out the steam with the coal fire, everything. That's the humor right there. That's just getting rid of all the fluff. That's our regulator right there.
Yeah. I think definitely humor is a good way for a lot of us neurodivergent people to do better. Well, and for me, it's like I'm doing a video today just because I know it's been a while. I do better when I just do audio usually because the camera's a distraction. Usually when I'm speaking, I'm in my head, I'm seeing things, and so my eyes are just kind of looking around.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how a lot of us process. And that's one thing that got us in trouble a lot as kids when our parents were like, look me in the eye. And I don't do that with my kids because I know for me that that's actually traumatic. And I'm a Gen Xer. And a lot of people like to make it. Sometimes I'll tease them too. The Gen Z's like, what's wrong with these kids? They're too soft. Some of us just are really sensitive. And I've always been one of those really sensitives that it's taken a lot of tears to get a thick skin. But that's okay. I think if we can, just do our best in each moment. And then if we need to revisit the trauma later to integrate, or if we can do it in the moment, great. But I think the important part is really learning to be able to stay as balanced as we can.
Yeah.
And it's each individual. It doesn't mean that we're weird, we're crazy, something's wrong with us. We just process a little differently. I mean, I was told by a therapist in Pocatello about, I guess, 8-10 years ago, that he said that I was on the spectrum, that he would classify it as Tourette's, because I do sometimes tend to blurt some interesting things that are not always fitting, but sometimes are. Anyway, and then no filter anyway, but I do work on that. And Asperger's, because a lot of times it's awkward, and I'm trying. Sometimes social interaction can be really awkward. So I just try to have, like you say, that slew or that plethora of things that we can just pull out, like, oh, what's topics to talk about, so that the awkwards are kind of not as, but then it still turns out awkward because people are like, holy shit, you know a lot about
Yeah, well, people handle a way of thinking differently, or how they process information differently. My older daughter, when she was in school, they would give her a hard time with doodling in class while the teacher was talking. But some people just, that's why they have these little fidget toys nowadays. That the buttons, the levers, the pushers, the clickers, and all that. And those things were good. It somehow, and I was like that too a little bit, that you can process information better or concentrate better while somehow you're doing something mundane. Just like doodling, fidgeting with something, or doodling, or whatever. People are just like that, but the teachers would just smack on the desk and say, pay attention, pay attention.
I
And it's just like, I am paying attention. It's like, okay,
Right?
what's the last thing I said? And then she would like, the last thing you said, you find yourself in the principal's office, but still, I mean, it's just that everybody, has their own way of either processing information or even communicating. Like Amária has said, I really hated the teachers to tell me, look at me in the eye. And I said, okay, And I would put my face right up to theirs because they were like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm visually impaired. You want me to look at you in the eye? I can't see it. It's fuzzy. I'm far away there, so I have to go up real close." So they just kind of cured them from ever saying that to me again. But that was one of the phrases I absolutely hated as well
That's
because
hilarious
no,
Oh,
though.
I just seem better if you talk to me and I kind of stare off in space because it's my way of processing what you're saying. I'm trying to visualize, especially if you're trying to tell me, hey, such and such item is in, the bookshelf on the left side, whatever and stuff. I stare off in a different direction trying to picture your instructions to me of where you put the item or whatever, and I have to look for it.
Well,
So
I'm sure your visual
yeah,
impairment makes a difference as well.
yeah.
yeah.
So, it's just that, and it's unfortunately the programming has made
Yeah,
a one size fits all on how to deal with or on handling any kind of situation, whether it's handling how people talk to people, whether it's handling how people do things, where handling just day to day stuff. They make it sound like there's a one uniform way to do things, including learning, and there isn't. There's a million ways to learn, and not all of them are right, not all of them are wrong. So there's just so many different types of people on the face of this planet. Why would you make a one uniform way of doing things? Believe it
exactly.
or not, we all breathe differently. So it just, it's amazing how the programming has made everybody feel that if they don't march exactly the same way, you're the oddball.
Right.
There's something
No,
wrong with you. You need therapy.
Or that they have to break you down. I mean, I think that there should be consequences for actions. I mean, my kids get in trouble. Like my son today did something that got him in trouble. He lost his phone. But, I don't think that I had any to rub it in and make him feel like a bad person because he just did something that I'm like, well, you broke a boundary, so we need to do this, action thing. There's your karma. You don't want this to
Yeah.
happen. Keep the boundary, keep the rules. And there's certain rules out there that, yeah, we should be really looking at being kind and not stealing things, not hurting people, and, just not being an asshole.
Yeah, as long as the rules that you follow is not disruptive to what we call the flow of the universe, if you will. And when
Right.
I say the flow of the universe, no, you don't take a life, you don't disturb a life, you don't steal. The reason why you don't steal is not just because you're taking up somebody's property, but their flow. You're not allowed to disturb somebody else's flow, what's going on in their life. And I mean disturb it in a negative way. You can disturb it in a good way, like hold the door open for somebody, give someone a present, say kind words to them. Those are, integrating into the flow rather than disturbing it. But when you disturb a flow to anyone, you can mess things up, and there's a price to pay for that.
there was another thing that I wanted to mention with this. I didn't mean to interrupt you guys.
No, you're fine. Go for it. I'm thinking,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Um, Another thing I found that are interesting was, how when you used to in the world of punishment or negative reinforcement or positive reinforcement, right?
Right.
Spoon.
One of the things I used to really, really, really hate to happen was when I was told I had to sit in the corner with my hands underneath me.
Oh, yes. Or your nose on
Now,
the wall and your hands behind you, or your arms crossed, or and
what
don't
what
move, and you're like wiggling.
and the thing is that I physically can't do that. I literally physically can't do that.
Mm,
And the
that'd be
reason why
painful.
is because it affects my stimming. Uh, for those who might not familiar, all right, with when you have ADHD, you cannot regulate your dopamine levels properly, and so the easiest way your body the easiest way your body knows how to regulate its dopamine is through physical interaction. So that could be anything from tapping your finger to wiggling your legs to walking in a circle, which I'm doing right now, actually. Um, but this is the easiest way for you to regulate your dopamine in some shape or form. So when like a teacher or a parent would be like, stop wiggling, stop moving, sit down, focus. it's like, I can't just sit down and focus. That's not how I'm wired. That's not how I
Yeah.
do things. It's
I like to walk or pace or wiggle my feet too.
it's just how I can regulate things properly. You don't tell a car, not to idle, because the car will idle when it's not moving.
Yeah.
The engine will still be revving and everything will still be running. It just doesn't. Everything doesn't stop. The only time it stops is when you turn off the car. It doesn't. It's in the same way. When we're in an environment where we need to be continuously working, we need some way to stimulate ourselves, just like a car has fuel, and the fuel is kind of like that revving. We need that thing because it keeps our pace. It's we follow the beat of the drum.
It
That
helps
could
our
be the thing
thinking,
for me,
definitely.
right? A lot of times I'm moving when I have the cameras off. I'm like that pacing. Right now I'm just
especially
playing
on
with
the phone.
mirror. It's like just the stimulation keeping my hands busy.
Yeah, and I'm playing with my pendulum, so
or humming a song while I'm doing this.
I pace back and forth when I'm on the phone with people. I'm so grateful that the phones are finally portable now. Can you? I mean, we can all remember.
I always had the extra long cord.
The extra long cord. I was about to bring it up. Yeah, the extra long cord, and I walk back and forth, do lots of spinning, and when the phone call was over, I was wrapped up like a mummy. And I didn't know how to get out of all that.
Nope.
But yeah.
That's so funny.
So I remember all of that. So some of you old enough to remember how the phone cords were back then. We loved the extra long cord.
Then we got the wireless phones. We'd have the little earpiece that we'd plug into it and hook it on our belt, and we were just so hopping.
Times have changed.
Yeah, they have.
So
I had a beeper in the 90s and 2000s. I finally got the cell phone. I didn't have the one like my dad did in the 90s where it was like a briefcase.
Oh, the one with the my favorite one was the brick with the antenna.
The car phone
brick. Yep.
We had that thing. And I think we found that a while back too, and we're like, oh my god, he kept this thing.
I would have seriously kept mine,
So funny. Oh man, I've decluttered so much stuff. Like, it's kind of weird. I found a lot of. I've had an old overhead projector when I was moving from Pocatello this summer. I was like, well, I kind of wish in a way I would have kept it, but I didn't think we'd have room. Because those are fun if you do art and stuff. Like if you ever like to paint, I like to do a projector over onto the wall. You paint it.
Yeah, eventually you can get a new one. Yeah.
I'm sure
there's actually some decent priced ones, and they're not as bulky as they used to be either.
Oh, that's really
They used to weigh 1,000,000 pounds. Because I remember my dad had one of those, and he was using them for his math class, and it was we're talking about like 70s, 80s, and 90s, and it was just heavy as hell, and chucking it back up the stairs to and from the car was a pain in the A word. So yeah, so I can imagine they're a lot lighter now. You can look those up on Amazon or different markets, but I mean, all of us has a way of handling things just differently. It's just we gotta keep in mind that no one size fits all. You can't implement your way of doing things on other people.
Well, that's why I've told people several times, like whenever I've said meditate, and some people are like, well, I can't meditate. And I'm like, why do you think you can't meditate? And they say, well, I can't sit for that long and keep my mind inactive. And I'm like, well, then don't. They're like, well, you said you just meant to meditate. And I said, yeah, that doesn't mean always.
Yeah, that doesn't mean sit crisscross applesauce and
right?
and stuff. There's meditation is all it is a way to open yourself up to the universe. You can do it by washing dishes. You do mundane tasks that
you
are
want to be
simple.
aware of what you're thinking about, of course.
Yeah,
but yeah, dishes. That's
like if you wash dishes, because that doesn't really take any brain cells to do, or some people do it when they're driving a car.
Right.
That's another one. Especially
but you want to be careful when you're driving that you don't get too meditative, because you could either get tired and fall asleep, or just like you
Yeah.
become in that beta mode where things get kind of oblivious and you're just
Um,
in that robot mode. So
yeah, another way is
what is
doodling.
up with
Another,
that? Like walking on a trail.
yeah, definitely.
Like I like to do it disc golfing.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff do you like to do for a meditation, even if it might not be like the lay down, listen to something
Yeah, say crisscross
guided?
applesauce or whatever. That's not the only way to meditate. I mean, you can doodle. You can just simply take a
That's
notepad
a
and
good
paper and
one.
just
Yeah.
make up a whole bunch of circles, scribbles, and eventually things will just come. And I've done that before, and eventually a picture will come around. And I've written things before that look like it's from another language or something like that or whatever. I mean,
Nice.
it just, there's many other ways to meditate other than just sit quietly and, let the universe hit you. There's many other ways. There's no right or wrong. That's why they said the first thing it said in most meditation books is they said there's no right or wrong way to meditate.
That's really cool. I like that. There really is no right or wrong way. There's a lot of different methods. Now, like say you want to do a guided meditation, there's a lot of really good ones out there. I like the binaural beats. Like if I really want to get down, because for me, I still like have that thing of either I'm pacing or I'm fidgeting with something, whatever that may be. And when I'm in that lay down state, it's interesting because if I just try to do one thing and say I'm focusing and listening to music, it doesn't always work, but it seems like the beats and then somebody talking a guided or I'm thinking with that, it's funny, all that stuff starts to make a chaos bleed away. And then even though I might not be listening to what they're saying 100% each time, my mind actually starts going on a journey, but it's controlled because I put my intention, and sometimes it's like my higher self or guides are leading me so that I'm able to still follow something. And there's all of a sudden that center. I find that center, even though I'm not particularly listening to what the guided meditator is saying or doing. And that's another way. And it's okay. Like if you don't have to be so disciplined that you're doing that. Now, if you want to, that's great. Do some mind training, memorization things that'll help with memory. I mean, if you've got brain trauma, a lot of times that's more challenging. I know like hyperbaric oxygen therapy can help. It can be really expensive though. And so there's a lot of things that can help boost you. There's another thing, MCT oils with coconut oil. It's another thing that my dad used with my grandma before she passed away. She had really bad dementia and started forgetting stuff. But they gave her the oils and she started to remember key things that she had forgotten. And so she did improve, even though she did, of course, eventually pass with it. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways. Alex, what do you like to do that's meditative for you? I mean, you mentioned your pacing, while we're talking to kind of keep you focused. And so that's kind of a brain entrainment for yourself for a neurodivergent.
Well, I guess, I mean, it depends on if I'm doing active meditation or passive meditation. If I'm actively meditating, then usually the thing that really helps me are solfeggios.
Oh yeah.
I'm very, very into solfeggios. I have a few different ones I like to use. I have just your run of the mill 432 one if I just need a rest. But if I'm in a really rough scrape, I have one that's a 528 hertz that in the background is a 963 hertz. And that usually helps me out when I'm in a really nasty scrape. Both if I am, say, uh, let's say I've had a rough night and I'm let's say I'm going out with friends and like we're going drinking or something like that, and I've realized that I've overdid it. Well, one of the things I'll do when I get home is I'll just start playing my solfeggios, and usually what happens is that I'll be able to kind of reorient myself properly.
Oh, I like that. So you're
Because,
doing a lot of really deep resonance healing. That's really cool that the resonance is so cathartic for you physically.
like I'll be like on the floor, or not floor. I'll be in my bed and I'll be resting, and I'll be like, I'll just be playing this in the background while I'm just kind of like just breathing through it.
I like that.
But if I'm passively doing so, just pacing, fidgeting with my hands, randomly watching just like stupid videos that I'll be like randomly finding, and I'll just empty my mind. Literally, I'll just empty my mind and I'll just focus on something ridiculous. Because the nice thing about that is that it distracts me just enough so my mind is not wandering. All right. It's wandering just enough where it's focused on that one little squirrel, if you will.
Right.
And everything else is just kind of taken care in the
And
background.
it's funny how some things can do that. They'll help you just take that distraction off enough to focus. And then yet other things can just make it worse.
Oh, that actually happened to me today.
Oh, yeah.
That happened to me earlier today. I was watching something that was on Disney. And I was watching some stuff for Marvel earlier today, and I've been really kind of hooked into one of the TV shows they have. And after a while, my mind just started getting all frayed. I have no idea why. It just was, and it's for people who do not know what this actually feels like. It's like anxiety, but 100 times worse. Because
Wow.
so I was literally like, I need something to shut my head up. So I'm still in full capacity, but my brain's like screaming at me saying, you need to calm down. It's like you burn your hand's like freaking out because you burned it. Now imagine that, but mentally.
Right.
It's like you need
I've had that where you just you're like totally losing your shit internally. And there's times I've done that this summer too.
Yeah, I've had that this year. There's been more and more of that this year.
So
Yeah.
I found that I found a video I was watching a little bit earlier today, and what it was is a video that was viral. What was it? Is it viral beats? I actually have it right here while I'm talking to you guys. Yeah, so it's two different beats playing at exactly the same time, but it's like regular music. It's polyrhythmic music. So there are multiple rhythms playing at the same time. So
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice.
So one is just your regular music.
Your sound cut out when you were saying one is just your regular.
Kind of just pinpoint where it is. Meanwhile, the rest of my head is listening to the regular music, enjoying it. So it has enough there to entertain it. So I was able to listen to that. I was finally able to focus. But I recommend, if you do listen to stuff like that, not to put headphones in, because oh boy, that was like it was like putting a something in an outlet, and it pulled the circuit breaker right there.
That's probably really like overstimulating almost, huh?
Yeah, I just put it on a regular TV, played it in the background, and it was just fine. But if it's like directly in your ear, no bueno. Because I was just too afraid at that point. But yeah, that is something that has helped me dramatically. That, and also when you want to be a little bit more spiritual, you can also do chants. I found chants are very nice.
Nice. I like Gregorian chants. Those are cool. We used to do those in choir.
I was listening to Gnostic chants.
Ooh,
Very
nice.
interesting. It was it's a song that many people actually know this song because it's a traditional French folk song. It's a Catharian song. Cathars were a group of Gnostics that existed in the Middle Ages in France before a crusade destroyed them by the Catholics at the time. But it was the whole song is the song is about this man is telling the story about this woman who was this beautiful lady and how she was a farmer and a homekeeper, and how she did beautiful things with like potatoes, and she would make soups and stuff like that with it. And then the song constantly will eventually go into how she was slain, and it's very sad at that point. But this whole thing is being chanted. But so instead of like saying like the terms like amen or something like that, or so it be, or something like that, they'll say a I o u. A E. It's A E E E O U U, and then like that. A E A O U.
Huh.
The vowels that we use in the English language are actually extremely, yeah,
I like
yeah,
those ones.
something like that. So I've learned while I was learning about the sign, listening to spirituality and stuff like that, that these are very profound resonation. Your voice is able to do profound resonations with these things, which is actually in tune with certain harmonic frequencies.
Yeah. That does make sense, just being a musician and just studying a little bit on a lot of different resonance things. Like Masaru Emoto talks a lot about resonance and just negative and positive and the difference that it makes on water. And so that's really cool that those chants are so like poignant to you.
It's
really
sad.
fascinating.
Yeah.
It's what's funny is that there is actually a Catharian prophecy that was told in this particular song. There was a individual who went by the term of perfect or prefect. In the Cathars, the term perfect was a holy spiritual being. They were one, and they were able to control. They were one with their body and their spirit, right? And you were considered a perfect being, right? Because of these things. Well, he was, in no certain terms, he was basically saying the laurels are dead, but they will return in 400 or 500 years. Right? Now, what's funny about that is that today is in that threshold of the 400, 500 years.
Wow.
And so what that is supposed to say is that the laurels are starting to come back. So I've always interpreted it as that is the reason why you're seeing so many people with their spiritual awakening. That's why they're awakening up. It's because all of a sudden the foliage is coming back. It's blooming once again. And you're seeing this great awakening, if you will. And I'm not
There's
talking
so
like
many people leaving religion, even leaving the New Age religion. Like there's these stepping stones a lot of us are going through and have gone through. It's interesting, yeah.
yeah. So it's interesting how I know a lot of people have gone from traditional religions and even New Age. How a lot of people said that they were spiritual, but and now I know personally I'm not spiritual, quote unquote. I just am I'm just here. I am here. And that's just really funny because they say, oh, people with ADHD are blind, are nearsighted to the future, which is true. I'm nearsighted to the future because I am just here in the present, because the present is all we will know. It is the only thing we have. We can think about the future, but the future, we will never be in the future because the future is always ahead of us. It's not
That's
perfect.
true. That's true. I think, like I agree. I plan for things kind of in a basic way, like plan A, plan B, plan C, like things that could happen.
Yeah.
And then just kind of leave it like, be loving in the moment and if something comes up, then oh, cool, is this on my path to get me to where I need to be on my highest and best, most productive, flowing, whatever,
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, as much as we may be, we might look unmotivated or lazy or anything like that, we can focus. We can focus better than anybody else can. It's called, and this actually, the psychological and neurological world actually has a term for it, which is really cool. The term is hyperfocus. So
True.
it's like mental tunnel vision, but it's not, but all the positives without any of the negatives.
That makes sense because I can get super obsessed with certain subjects and just go like in it, like I'm starving, and it's just like this buffet.
Exactly. So like if someone were to cross us, like wrong us, we will be able to hyper focus and figure out how to deal with the problem right then and there, rather than let it fester. Because if we do let it fester, then we're going to be just intrusively thinking about it the entire time.
Right. And then you start making scenarios and worrying about shit and like, nah.
Yeah. But it's just, I think there is so much that's there that is misunderstood or understood.
Right. Either or understood, and we're like the experiment of what if we just let these fuckers kind of go and see what happens.
Let's see what happens when we see what happens when we prescribe the medication that affects their neurotransmitters.
I'm glad I stopped taking that stuff because I was on Effexor and Paxil up to about age 24, and then I weaned myself off. Scary stuff.
Methamphetamines for
Oh my
like
God.
until I was in my mid-20s. Left cold turkey. And your body lets you know really quickly when you start withdrawing from it. Right? You're basically hitting ground, rock bottom at that point, because your body is so used to that stimulation that once you don't have it, it's like, where is it? Where is this in your body? And you basically have to rebuild yourself up. So yeah, that's where the eccentricity comes in, because now you have to start propelling yourself again. But we're good. We're alive. We're breathing, and we got a good smile on our face.
I think it's sometimes as crappy as some situations can be in the moment, a lot of times I learn valuable lessons that help me in the next situation that's similar, so I don't look like such a shit ass.
Yeah, I think that's why that you get in these situations more than once, is I think it's a test to see if you learn from the last time around. A lot of times it's, and you end up either passing it or failing it,
Jeez. I've had a lot of
you don't pass it, they'll make you do it again.
Right. Through those fails, it's like, I think that's where when we overcome or we learn from our karma and start to kind of make a little bit different adjustments and choices to the things that we're doing, definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like this topic tonight. It's been very fitting for all of us neurodivergents. And of course our children that we have, that some of them have smaller neurodivergence, but there's some of them are there.
I may not have children, but I'll let them know once that day comes. It's going to be a very interesting day indeed.
That's funny.
Just imagine the different scenarios I can put. Ooh, I have many ideas in my head that are just melding, ready to go.
You have that file drawer open, right?
Sometimes
yes.
I feel like all my files are open.
Sue, what plan do you want? I have plan A through triple Z.
Oh wow, that's 26 plans. That's amazing.
I said I said triple Z, which means I'm
Triple
going
Z.
A,
Oh
B,
my
C,
God.
D, G, and
No, I'm sorry.
then I go
you
Z, A, Z, B, Z, C, Z, C, Z, and then I have Z, Z, A, Z, Z, B, Z, Z, C. I have that many.
Wow. This tells you, everybody, how much time he has on his hands.
No, I'm just,
There's
I'm
some
kidding. I'm
days we
kidding.
have
I'm just kidding.
hours and hours, and some days we just need more.
Yeah.
it's not that I have extra time on my hands. I'm just extremely efficient when I am focused, when I have to deal with it.
I don't
It's
know.
almost
I'm actually debating on whether the 24-hour a day scenario thing is actually fitting for me or not. And then the whole like daylight savings time, then the leap year stuff. Amazing how much of a waste it feels sometimes.
Yeah. I hear you on that. How you can cut the end off of a blanket and make it longer by sewing it on the other end makes no sense to me in time. Yeah, that's just fine.
That's just another deep state mind control thing that they do. It's the same thing how they have us grow our grass like crazy and mow the heck out of it, grow it again, mow the heck out of it.
Right.
I mean, there's all these programmings that we have. I actually let a section of the grass grow naturally to see what would happen, just to see what it would pop up for me. And I know that we have things what we call weeds, but a lot of it was medicine. A lot of it was food items, that was coming up because I was curious to what the end results were. So, so I must have a lot of interesting things in my backyard if I actually let it grow. The older days, what they did was they did mow the grass or the lawn or the property, but what they did was made a pathway and then let everything grow on each side of the pathway just naturally, however it grew. And they would
Right.
use the items for food or medicine or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But now we were all taught to shave it all off and weeds, you can't touch, mess with, get rid of, kill, and rely on Big Pharma for all your stuff. So, yeah, we see how the control is.
Glad I got off the big pharma.
By the way,
Yeah.
I misquoted the that Laurel quote thing I mentioned before. So
Oh, good.
it happened in the 13th century, which would be 1300. No, 13th century would be the 1200s, right? And it said 700. It says in 700 years the laurels will become green again, and good men and women will return. Right. So you do 17. You do the 1200s plus the 7 gives us to the 1900s.
Hey.
Interesting.
Cool. Really cool.
And interesting times, the 1900s into the
Yeah.
2000s.
Definitely a lot of interesting things happening these days. Well,
Yeah.
guys, we're coming up to the hour. Was there anything that you guys wanted to wrap up with, or?
That's just if you're looking for that particular chant I was talking about, it's called Lo Bourrier. I will actually put it in the chat so Katie can put it there. So if you're interested, you can actually listen to it for yourself.
Cool. Thanks so much, Alex.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Katie, for all that you do to help us with our show. Thanks so much, Sue. You've got lots of awesome ideas, girl.
Thank you.
Well, I think this is a good place we could stop for tonight. Thanks so much, guys. This has been really interesting. It's good to open up our minds, and any of our listeners out there that have any suggestions or comments, please feel free to shoot us a message, and we'd love to converse with you.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook. If anybody wants to contact, if anybody have any questions, dilemma, I just want to talk. I'm up at nights a lot of times, so yeah. So I think we're gonna have our emails down in the link, correct? And feel free to contact any of us.
All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for being here. It's been
Thank
great to talk to
you.
you guys.
Much
Love you so
gratitude.
much.
Lots
Talk
of love.
to you guys later.
Lots of love. Thank you, everyone.
Ta-ta.
Good night.